Alright, so as I am drawing this page here, no, actually I'm doing inking here. I'm going to be inking this fourth issue, page 23 of my Realm Material comic book series. This one's getting close to wrapping up, so this is one of the final pages of this issue to wrap up this series, this story arc. But just wanted to talk about what I'm doing here in this video is doing a lot of figure drawing, essentially. And as I get to inking, I'll get to, ink these figures. But basically, when as an independent comic book artist entering the vibrant world of comic book art is both exciting but also is challenging. So as someone who is an independent artist creating my own comics and just kind of pursuing my own style, essentially in this creative landscape, I come to realize that the ability to draw the human figure is an indispensable skill for aspiring comic book artists, especially if you're aiming for a realistic to semi-realistic portrayal of human anatomy. So while the imaginative characters and dynamic plots are still like the heart of comic book narratives, a strong foundation in drawing the human figure is what's going to ground these elements in authenticity. And this serves to enhance both visual storytelling and also reader engagement. So I think the primary reason for mastering the human figure is to capture realism. Comics that portray believable characters, for me at least, resonate more. And while you have those fantastical elements that are a staple in comics, I think grounding them with a realistic anatomy creates a bridge between reality and imagination. This could, helps to make the storylines more relatable and the characters probably a bit more tangible. Again, that's just kind of my take. I know there's a lot of different styles, but by understanding human anatomy, proportion, and movement, artists can craft figures that demonstrate the nuances of human experience, from the subtleties of like facial expressions to like dynamic poses or gestures that could help propel a story forward. So dynamic poses are fundamental to creating compelling comic panels. Say like in action scenes, character movement propels the narrative, evoking a visceral response from the audience. Mastering human anatomy equips artists with the skills to depict complex poses and fluid motion convincingly. So therefore, knowledge of muscle structure and how the body parts interact, this helps to allow myself as an artist to create scenes where characters can, either leaping or fighting or expressing some kind of emotion with a certain lifelike authenticity. So, this not only elevates the art but also enhances storytelling, keeping readers engaged and invested. Understanding the human figure also enriches an artist's versatility. It basically provides me a toolkit from which I can draw to experiment with style, perspective, and composition. So even if a comic book artist ventures into styles that are more abstract or exaggerated, like I was saying earlier, still having a solid grasp of anatomy enables them to bend reality skillfully while maintaining a visual coherence. And hopefully this coherence, helps captivate and convince within the realm of comic book storytelling. So, by pushing the limits of how the human form is represented while staying grounded in some semblance of correctness, I think like my art can achieve a balance that attracts diverse audiences. And speaking of the actual artwork, like what I'm doing here in this video, a lot of this inking here, personally, inking for me is where the magic really happens. It's in this phase that the drawings truly come alive for me. The penciling is like the engineering, kind of the plotting, the planning, from composition to making sure the form of the figure and the surface and textures and all that are in place. But the precision and depth that inking brings to the already meticulously sketched figures injects a distinct dimension into the artwork. The process of inking allows for an intense focus on the detail and contrast, which is what I really like focusing on. And it helps to transform the pencil drawings into bolder, readable images. And it's that part of the process of the comic book inking, the comic book creation, is the comic inking. That process that's my favorite part, is just working with ink. So through the inking, I can add texture and depth, which, reinforcing anatomically correct depictions or emphasizing certain traits. This stage is pivotal because it dictates the mood and tone of the comic, affecting how readers perceive characters and scenes. Now, I know coloring also plays a big role in that, and I guess, fortunately or unfortunately, I am my own colorist on this comic book series. But, that being said, the interplay between the shadows and highlights in the inking phase can represent the muscular tension during high action sequences, for example, or like subtle contours of a character during quiet, intimate moments, which is kind of what this scene is like here that I'm inking. It doesn't have a ton of implied action, or visual action, but there's definitely more of an intimate moment with the character's pose and what's happening in the background. So, but still, there's still some variety of there's still a variety of line weights happening within the inking, some shadows, different textures and whatnot. So, by continuing to work on my inking, by inking my own pencils, I'm constantly experimenting and trying different styles. Especially in this series, if you look at the first issue, I inked that. I inked it digitally, number one, so that was a totally different experience. But the end product was a different look. But then you get, you kind of work your way. I worked my way through the second, third, and now this fourth issue, and I think there is a pretty huge difference in the look of the artwork just from my inking approach. So, that is what it is as far as that's concerned. So, beyond the technical aspects, mastering body anatomy extends to capturing the emotional essence of the characters. So, facial structures and subtle shifts in bodily posture convey a range of emotions, which, they can say a lot more than words. And that's the advantage of a really, confident or good or skilled artist, being able to work with that plot and being able to carry on the story almost without words, which is not the aim of a comic book. I mean, it can be, but visually the artist should kind of try to put the writer out of business. And I mean that in the sense of, if you couldn't have the words on the page, the balloons or the dialogue or any of the captions, could the viewer still tell what's going on and understand what's going on? And that's what all these elements, when you put them together on a comic book page, should serve. All that being said, investing time and effort into learning human anatomy might seem daunting at first, but it provides an enduring knowledge that forms a cornerstone of a successful career, or at least success in creating my own comic book. The skills gained offer unlimited creative freedom, I think, allowing artists to design characters that are both stylistically compelling but also anatomically sound. So this mastery can also serve as a foundation upon which evolving trends and personal styles can be constructed. So this can help ensure relevancy and adaptability in, depending on what the changes are in trends in the comic book industry with art and storytelling, and even how the stories are delivered, whether it's mobile or digital or in print or some hybrid of the two. So, as one advances in this art form, from my perspective, it's crucial to remember that every great comic character starts with the basics. Before delving into complex character designs and sophisticated narratives, one should become more comfortable with the foundations of human anatomy. Learn to embrace live drawing sessions. I certainly did a lot of that in my earlier years, going to junior college and going to university, signing up for figure drawing classes. Study anatomy books. I have a whole bunch of anatomy books here in my own library, but also continuously practice sketching the human body in different poses and proportions. I get emails. I'm on an email list for 2 websites that offer these artist packs with model reference, which they're beautifully taken images, both women and men, and these packages or packs that I buy that I have and store in my library using for reference for any of my future work. that is always good to have on hand. So these efforts, all of these, these efforts pave the way for crafting characters that leap off the page in both action and emotion, and that's kind of the overall, I think, effect that I'm trying to achieve, and I think most artists try to achieve with their work, is serving the needs of the story and creating some kind of connection with the reader. So yeah, aspiring comic book artists, and I can include myself in this category, that have a realistic to semi-realistic style. Our goal should be to prioritize learning to draw the human figure accurately, and just getting better with that the more and more we hone our craft. So it's a skill that unlocks endless possibilities in storytelling and artistry, providing the tools necessary to meld imagination with that reality and give life to characters in vivid detail. I mean, obviously we're just, as an artist in comic books, we're working in a two-dimensional theater, if you will, and it's up to us to create that illusion, or to at least transport people, or make them suspend belief, or maybe believe, depending on how you want to work that part of storytelling, to where this work we create entertains and informs, maybe even educates to a certain degree. So if you're an aspiring artist, and as you embark on this path, learn to find the joy in every line and shadow you ink, realizing that each stroke contributes to a long legacy of graphic storytelling excellence. And that goes without saying with all the different artists that I have looked at over the years, admired, followed, and emulated. Like, this stuff is, it does become somewhat of the history of comics when you start to learn and take what you've learned, like, through traditional means of studying the human anatomy, and then get into the actual field of, or the world of comic book artwork. So yeah, stick with it. It's a lot of fun, and you gotta love it if you're gonna do it. So that's what I'm doing here with my own pages, loving every pen stroke and brush stroke that I put down. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, and if you are so inclined, perhaps even comment, perhaps subscribe, and if you really dig this stuff, ring that notification bell. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video.